Could it be that my ex was the best option for me? Could it be that my ex is the right person for me? So times and times again, we do have those questions in our mind running through our heads. Hi guys, here are the reasons why going back to your ex may or may not be the best option for you. Yes, I know. You're probably wondering like why isn't it the best option for me? Or why is it the best option for me? I get it. Calm down. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down some of the pros and cons as to why it may or may not be the best option for you to go back to your exes. And the information I'm going to be sharing in this video are not based on facts, but rather based on other people's opinions, experiences, as well as research on the net. Now, if you're interested in this type of topics or this particular topic, this particular video, stay glued to your screen and let's dive into the video. But before I do so, let me start by sharing the reason why I decided to touch on this topic. I saw a post on Instagram where someone was, narrating her terrible experience going back to her ex the third time. And then I thought about it. That kind of sprang up some form of curiosity in me. And I wanted to know, what are other people's thought on going back to your exes? Is it a bad thing to go back to your ex? Is it a good thing to go back to your ex? Do people really go back to their exes? Now, that's what we're about to find out in this video. So I shared a poll on Instagram for my audience to let me know whether or not they would go back to their exes. And this was the results. 70% of them said, God forbid. And that was so hilarious for me. And I was like, that bad? That bad? Because some of us have angels for exes. 70% said, God forbid, and others said yes and no. So that made me wanted to talk more on this topic, and I wanted to bring it to you guys and hear your thoughts. I went on the net. I read some stories on there where other people were asking similar questions, because I do understand that this is one controversial topic out there. Is it a good idea to get back with your ex? If you're unsure whether it's worth it to rekindle your romance, there are ways you can tell, says a therapist. Discuss how you've grown since your breakup and address the reasons you broke up. Consider whether you want your ex back for comfort or if they add something to your life that you just can't find anywhere else. This whole thing is all you. It's all you and you. You get to make the choice. You get to decide whether or not you want to go back to your ex or whether or not you don't want to go back to your ex. Now, there are reasons why breakup happen. There are reasons why people go their separate ways. There are factors to this thing. A lot of people have gone through really abusive relationships. A lot of people have gone through toxic relationships, different forms of abuse, honestly. And it's not something really fun to talk about. That's why I said there are factors to this thing. There are reasons why you decided to leave your ex or your ex decided to leave you anyways. So now you get to consider and decide why you want to go back to that person or why you want to get back together. Is it just for comfort's sake? Is it because you feel like you're lonely? Or is it because you just want to feel the space? Or because you actually feel like you want them back? You've spent time alone all by yourself for a long time and you feel like it's time to get back with them. Maybe you miss how they made you feel, how happy you were with them. Or maybe you miss doing fun activities with them. Or maybe there are things that they add to your life that you just haven't been able to find anywhere else. These are the things you want to try to consider. These are the questions you want to ask yourself. And then see whether or not the idea of going back to them excites you or makes you sad. That decision is up to you. It's all up to you. All right. So the next thing I found on the net when I was searching was someone asked, is this smart to go back to an ex? And then it says a 2022 study concluded that on-again, off-again relationships can have a significant negative impact in the mental health of both partners. And the more times people break up and get back together, the more stressful and unhealthy the relationship becomes. Remember I mentioned that the post I found on Instagram that inspired this video, the lady said that she had gone back to her ex the third time. And for every time she was going back, it was getting worse. It wasn't getting any better. This confirms it that It is not advisable technically to go back to your ex without addressing pending issues, because if you decide to sweep issues under the carpet, you will definitely go back to the same issues. There are reasons why people go their separate ways in the first place. And if those issues or reasons are not addressed, it becomes a problem and there stresses the relationship, which is not good for both parties' mental health. All right, so the next thing I found, someone was asking, can getting back together with an ex work? And it says, getting back with your ex can work if both parties are committed to creating a new healthy relationship and have effectively addressed the issues that led to the initial breakup. However, experts caution against using this as an easy fix to relationship problems. Again, it may be a good idea to go back to your ex. It may be possible to go back to your ex, but of course, both parties have to come together. There has to be a mutual understanding. There has to be a mutual agreement and a commitment to fixing the pending issues that were there before and building a healthier relationship. Addressing issues that led to the breakup and to you going your separate ways in the first place is very crucial. You cannot sweep issues under the carpet. If you sweep issues on the carpet and you feel like it's all good, you definitely go back to meeting the same issues. The same problems will be there waiting for you. So you need to be able to communicate, because communication is very key. Experts actually advise that communication helps relationship grow healthier. If you communicate the issues that you're having in that relationship, it will help you both fix those issues. And if you fix those issues, it will help you build a better and stronger and healthier relationship again. All right, so someone was asking, can getting back with an ex be successful? The decision to get back with your ex shouldn't be a hasty one. After all, your relationship ended for a reason. However, that doesn't mean that you can't reunite with your ex and build a healthier relationship. Many couples who have called it quits end up getting back together. Now, this also confirms what I said earlier. There are reasons why you broke up in the first place, and you gotta address those issues. Let's take a look at what else I found. Yeah, so this is a very, very important one that I saw. And it says, do exes fall in love again? A recent study showed that 44% of Americans have gotten back together with one of their exes after breaking up with them. However, there are no statistics on whether these couples could build and stay in healthy, loving relationships in the long run. Like, is it possible to actually fall out of love with your partner and then fall back in love again? It is very possible to fall out of love with someone that you were once in love with and fall back in love with them again, especially if you start seeing things that you saw initially when you fell in love with them. Then yes, the love can always come back and you can always rekindle things. But then again, it also depends on the factor that led to the relationship in the first place, because I do know that some people have had terrible relationships. Some people have had really bad abusive relationships, toxic relationships. And of course, that one, there's no way you can go back to falling in love with those type of people. You cannot be in love with someone who abuses you, who gaslights you, someone who treats you unfairly. There's no way you can be in love with those type of people. I don't see myself going through all of that and still falling back in love with that type of person, honestly. So yeah, it all depends on the situation. And honestly, when it comes to this whole dating and relationship thing, there is no one recipe. There is no one formula. It just depends on individuals' needs and wants, and as well as experiences. Now, the moment is here. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm gonna dive right in and talk about the pros and cons, why you should consider going back to your ex, and why you shouldn't even consider going back to your ex. Again, guys, it's all up to you whether or not you want to go back to your ex anyways. But I'm just putting this out there because I know that a lot of us have these questions deep down our hearts as to whether or not we should go back to our exes. Could it be that my ex was the best option for me? Could it be that my ex is the right person for me? Could it be that my ex is actually the person for me? So times and times again, we do have these questions in our mind running through our heads. And that's why I wanted to put this out there. At the end of the day, it's all up to you whether or not you want to go back to your ex. So I'm going to be starting with why you should not try to consider going back to your ex. Number one, is if there was a physical abuse. Now, that's the worst thing that could ever happen to anybody. It is not fun. I personally haven't been through any form of abusive relationship before, but I do know that a lot of people out there go through abusive relationships. And if you by any chance have been able to break yourself out of that type of relationship, please do not go back. Number 2 is if there was a verbal or emotional abuse. I know it sounds similar to the first one, but the difference between the both is that one is physical and the other is emotionally. Personally, I feel like emotional abuse or verbal abuse is the worst. So if you've been there before, going back is not even to be considered. Please do not consider going back to an abusive relationship. Number 3 is if there was gaslighting and or manipulation. All of these things belong to the same group. They are all tagged or labeled abuse. So you need to be wary, and please do not go back to any form of abusive relationship. Number 4, which is very common and it's definitely out there. It's worldwide. It's a problem and should be considered a pandemic. A lot of people are out there taking no responsibility whatsoever, no discipline, and they're out there cheating. Again, if the problems are still there, you would definitely go back to that problem. Can you really change people? I personally don't think you can change people. People cannot be changed. They could only change for a while, but you cannot guarantee whether or not they're going to go back to doing those same things. So that's all I can say basically for this particular one. Number 5 is if there was an addiction or alcohol abuse issue. Yeah. Now, without saying too much, let me drag this whole thing to why you should try to consider going back to your ex. Number 1 is if enough time has passed and you both still want to get back together. This feeling is one of the best feelings ever. And there you go, you have your answers. If you've spent a lot of time apart and you still have that feeling of wanting to go back together or being together, then you should definitely go for it. Number 2 is if the way you both communicate is now significantly better than before. Yes, I did talk about communication being a very important recipe in relationships. So if you can now communicate seamlessly, if you communicate better than before, and you can now express yourself, express your emotions, talk about things, gist, and the communication flows better, then yes, that's a good sign and you should consider going back. Number 3 is if the issues that led to the breakup in the first place can be fixed. Again, I talked about different factors leading to breakups and why people go their separate ways in the first place. If the problems that led to the breakup in the first place can be fixed, then that's a good sign. Then you should definitely go for it, put in the work, and try to make things work. Number 4 is if it was a situational breakup and that the situation have changed, then yes, that's also a good sign. Different situations leads to breakup. It could have been any form of situation. It could have been distance. It could have been because you both weren't prepared. It could have been because you were not mentally there yet for a relationship. So if the situation that led to the breakup in the first place has changed, then yes, you should totally go for it. And that it's no longer going to be a situationship, but an actual relationship. Number 5 is if the relationship moved too fast, but now you're both ready to take things slow, then yes. It has to be with mutual agreement, mutual decision, that you're both ready to come back together. You're both ready to communicate better, ready to put in the work, and you're both ready to take things slow, one at a time. This is basically what I wanted to talk about today. Please share your thoughts in the comment section, and also whether you believe that going back to your exes is possible, because some of us, when we break up and we move on, we move. When we move, we move. Hey, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and please, I'd encourage that you leave your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about going back to your exes? Is it a bad idea? Is it a good idea? Have you had an experience? What was your experience like? Did you go back to an ex? How was it like? Are you still there? make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section. Let's continue this conversation there. Also, if you did enjoy watching this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you share this video to other people who might be interested in watching. And if you're yet to join the family, please make sure you click on the subscribe button down below and subscribe to the channel. Join the family. Till I see you guys again, stay happy and stay blessed. Bye. Mwah.